Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting list video. Today I am joined by Eric, and as always I'm putting Eric through the grinder. I'm like, Eric, hey, do this thing about this game that you know nothing about. But it's very fascinating to me. It's very fascinating. And today I made Eric guess the top 5 strongest investigators in their opinion, because in some time I want to revisit this in the future when you have more game knowledge and a few actual campaigns under your belt to see what may or may not change. So again, Eric has played this game twice. However, we have a bunch of videos coming out, as well as our previous one. The last one was that Eric was the investigators you were most excited to play. So these are the strongest investigators. So I'm not gonna comment too much. I mean, I'll maybe add a bit of spice. But Eric's 5, it was from 19 down to 5. And I think that there was some great investigators here, and I'm excited to hear why these investigators seem particularly powerful to you as we dive in. These are in no particular order, just 5 investigators. And we have our first one, which is Gloria Goldberg, the writer. So Gloria's ability is that whenever she looks at cards from the encounter deck, she gets to look at one more. And then she gets to put one of them either she gets to either put it in her basement, discard it, or put it back on top in any order. You also choose the Mythos order phase. So what made Gloria Goldberg stand out to you as a strong investigator?
Well, I feel like anything that gives you control over a bad phase already feels kind of good. So getting to choose the investigator phase in the Mythos order, I'm not sure what that does, but in my brain I'm like, oh, maybe she'll get to mess with the way bad things happen or play them to our advantage. And the ability to take something out of play, something potentially dangerous, the ability to just be like, nah, this is going somewhere else for now, seems to me really strong.
Yeah. So also, Eric did not look at any of the deck building requirements for these characters. It does change some power levels quite a bit, actually. And Gloria has considered to be one of the stronger deck building styles on top of all of this. Did the stats mean anything to you when you were looking at them?
Well, I mean, I had remembered that purple basically does everything with brain, and I liked that. She's also a strong investigator, so I like that too. And she's got, I think 5 is good health. 5 seems decent.
5 is low. 5's one of the lowest it can be. 5 was the lowest, but she has 9 brain.
She has 9 brains.
Yeah. It's one of those things where she's more likely to take horror than she is to take damage. So it's not like a low amount, but it's higher than it'll feel, right? Especially with control over the Mythos deck.
Yeah.
So she can give the cards that would damage her to somebody else.
Exactly,
right?
And that's kind of what I imagined for her.
The other thing is that right now she's only a book promo. She's not actually officially released, so we don't actually have the official versions of her signatures, which might change her power level. But I will say, not to influence the future, but Gloria is considered to be one of the strongest investigators in the game. So you do have, so far you're one for one, because Gloria is very good. She's very good. And it's because, she has 5 brain, but she also has 4 book. There's a card that called Alyssa Graham that gives you +1 book, and you can exhaust it as a lightning bolt to look at the top card of the Mythos deck. So that means that she's now a 5/5, which means she can just investigate normally, right? Like with her book. She doesn't need to use mystic spells for it all the time. Yeah.
She seems very good.
She is very good. All right, next one we got here is Min T Fan. So Min T Fan's ability is once per investigator, when you commit a card to a test, you may add a wild icon to it. So why Min? What made Min pop out to you?
Well, the whole wildcard effect I thought was just really, really strong. Lots and lots of flexibility. And I was just like, that seems really strong. The ability to just... And the fact that it's not replace, it's add.
Yeah.
To me was like, okay, that's a big deal. So in any good deck, she makes whoever's nearby her better.
Yeah.
And it's any investigator near her. So she's normally doing it for herself.
Yeah.
But if you all happen to be in the same space, or if you're all dealing with, say... one of those massive creatures, which I imagine is usually a big fight montage, then Min's just there being like, here's some extra fights every time. Whatever Min wants to help with, she's good at. And her stats seem to reflect that. She's very brain, she's very book, and 7/7 seems decent.
Yeah, no, that's like a good, that's like a comfortable stat, because nothing really scares you, right? There's certain investigators like Roland Banks who has 5 horror, and that's scary because you get trauma. Now you have 4 health left before you die. She gets a trauma. She has 6 health or sanity left, which is a lot. Her signature is also really good, which allows you, whenever you can commit a card to a test, 1 card to a test anywhere on the board.
Oh.
And if you commit one card to a test, you get to draw a card, so it replaces it. Yeah, no, I think... so Min's one of my favorite investigators. She's been in my top 5 since we've been doing top 5s. I think she's lower power than other people do. I'm just an outlier, though. I'm just some guy who just thinks Min's not that strong. But she's very fun to play. I love the hell out of Min. She's a good investigator. I personally don't think she's a great investigator, but she is very powerful. Yeah. And she's one of my favorites. I love the support. I love the skills, just like getting better. And also that even though she has 2 in her fist and her foot, because she gets an extra wild icon, she really has like 1 more listed on those stats, which is kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
All right, next one is Stella Clark, the letter carrier. So Stella's ability is pretty simple. The first time you fail a test in a round, you get an additional action that round.
I cannot get over how much I value that action economy, because the idea that I can just fail a test by using no resources just as a gambit.
Yeah.
Well, and potentially triggering special abilities, but also just doing it as a gambit, and then going in again with the actual resources that I might not have wanted to spend.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're doing nothing but that tactic, which seems like the bad way to play her, even if you're just doing that, it feels to me like you're going to get value out of her ability and save cards in your hand that you could use for bigger, more dangerous tests.
Yeah, and she also has 8/8, which is the highest amount of health. She has 16 points of health, which is a huge number. Her stat line is not good, but it doesn't need to be with the way that survivors play. Survivors are very scrappy characters. They can make like most things work. And she also has 3 copies of her signature, which is one of the strongest in the game, which is Neither Rain Nor Snow, where it gives you 3 wild icons, and you can commit it to anybody. And if the test fails, there's no negative effects. So it's just really good. And there's also a way to infinitely recur them. So that's also really good. There's also that little trick. Stella's biggest downside is that she is mono survivor. So like with the deck building, her deck building is kind of poopy, because survivor also isn't really a big late game class. They're good investigators, but they scale poorly with the scenarios, because for a long time, survivor cards capped out at 3 experience. Stella has some 5 experience cards that she's going to want in her builds. There's a card called Quick Learner that gives you +1 to the first test you take during your turn, and then -1 to each test you take after your second for the turn.
Oh, you can really game that.
Yeah, so, and you can have 2 of them, so you get... So remember, like when we were talking about the drawing thin, you just bomb a test, get some resources, then take 3 tests, 2 of which are at -2 difficulty. It's very, very powerful. And Stella Clark, because she has a lot of potential to abuse the game, is a very powerful investigator and routinely ranks in the S or A+ tier for power. So far, yeah. I like 2 that have matched like the general consensus, but yeah, Stella Clark's crazy. She's a crazy investigator. She's very powerful. Yeah.
I like her.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you play with her.
She's also got a red scarf, and I'm obsessed with the weird cult that apparently always has red stuff. So I think she's a villain.
She might be. We got Ursula Downs is the next one. So Ursula's ability is pretty dang simple. After you move into a location, investigate.
Well, everything I've been hearing is that moving sucks, and this is a character who fixes that.
Yeah.
So I think Ursula is great just for that reason. She removes a part of the game that sucks. Sometimes you might be moving into places where she doesn't get to immediately investigate for some sort of value, so build around that. Have like one card that's like, oh, you can trade and investigate for money or something, and then she's good. She's got 4 evade, which seems good to me for a character with 1 fight, and then she's got 4 book, which seems good to me for a character who's going to be doing a lot of investigating. I feel like everything about her just says, I was one of those mistake characters where they didn't understand their own game when they first built it, and they made her way too strong.
Ursula's in a very unique spot as an investigator. Number 1, she's actually quite contentious online for thought power for her. Generally, a lot of new players think she is very powerful. And I think that Ursula is very powerful at 2 or less players, because her ability goes down in value when you have more players, which sounds strange, but it's mostly because you spend longer on a location to get clues, because clues generally scale with the number of players. But say, for example, a location has 2 clues on it, you can move in, get those 2 clues, move out next turn. So it's like peak efficiency with her ability at 2 players. I think she's fantastic at 2 players, and I think she just doesn't scale as well with 3 or 4.
I could see that.
But you're generally right. Like, being able to turn a move into something else feels like just tempo crazy, right? Her stat line's good. Her big problem is that her deck building kind of sucks because she can only play Seeker 0 to 5 and Relics, I think 0 to 4 or something like that. But Relics, a lot of them don't really synergize with her. So her card pool doesn't really like match up with what other investigators can do. But her ability is incredible, and I love it in 2-player. It's very good in 2-player.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Travis hates her. But that's just because Travis... It's also weird things where sometimes you get into a weird gameplay loop with Ursula where you feel like you have to move, right? Because like Travis is the kind of player who wants to use their investigator's ability like every turn. And sometimes you can't do that in Ursula. But Travis also most often plays like 3 and 4 players, which I totally get the thing. But in 2 players, I think Ursula's just chef's kiss. She's very nice. All right, and the last one is Trish Scarborough, the Spy. So Trish's ability is after she gets a clue at a location with an enemy, she can either evade an enemy at that location or discover an additional clue.
So Trish seemed good to me because she's got a high evade, she's got a high book, so she seems to me like a character who wants to go in and be doing those investigations. And I just liked the idea, and I don't know how often you have one enemy on you and how often that comes up, but if it's something that happens regularly, I like the idea that you can just basically turn monsters into a bonus for you with Trish.
Yeah.
Where you get that free evade, so it means you can stay on a location with a monster and just keep doing dumb stuff.
Yep.
Or you can turn that into clue advantage when you need to.
Yeah. Ursula is... Sorry, Trish. I still had Ursula in my brain. It's actually funny because they both share a similar pool. I think you're 100% right with your thoughts on Trish. She has a good stat line for what she wants to be doing. She has a good health and sanity pool. She has probably the best deck building in the game. She has Rogue 0-5, Seeker 0-2, which means she gets like the good Seeker cards at level 0, which there's a lot, and the good Rogue cards at level 3 higher, which there's a lot. Her ability is bonkers, right? Because enemies just come. Right?
Yeah.
Enemies are going to appear. And the best thing is that other people, your other investigator, can have that enemy, and you just go first and reap the rewards, and then they kill it.
Yeah, no, I loved Trish.
Yeah, she also routinely ranks in like the A+ tier. She's never hit S.
Oh.
She's not broken like Gloria or Stella can be, but she's begging to be broken. Like I could see her being broken as the card pool expands. Also, I noticed, I'll just say, Eric put no fighters in the top 5 strongest, which ultimately was the correct call. There's only one fighter that we put in the S tier or A+ tier, like that, like routinely is that we would call like busted. There's good fighters, but generally the clue getters dictate the pace of the game, right? And if you sometimes are beating the game too quick, your fighter won't have as much to do. And I think that was a very safe and very smart read that you had for this list. Notably, the other ones, may I say, who just barely missed the cut?
Also, please note, all girls.
It was all girls. It was
all girls.
No, I mean, there's a great cast in this game. So the other 2 that did not make it for the honorable mentions are Sister Mary and Rex Murphy. Those are the other 2 that made it to the top 7.
Well, and also the Safina, the one with the weird...
Safina made the top 10.
Right, yeah.
Or that one. She didn't make the final, the 3rd tier. But Safina was in your top 5 most wanted to play, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of me once again throwing my new player friend through the grinder. But it's I love it. Honestly, I love hearing Eric's thoughts and opinions on everything. And I'm excited for us to revisit this in the future. But in the meantime, Eric and I are going to build some decks and we're going to play. So that'll be fun. But thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. If you have any videos that you want to see me and Eric do, or just me do, or me, Travis, and Bryn do, let me know down in the comments for list videos. Have a good one. We love you. And as always, a GG's.